Mike Dell's World, number 164, for July 22nd, 2010.
Nothing's wrong, but it's alright. Lay me down to sleep tonight. Toss and turn, sleep won't come. I'm restless for the sun. A dream with you in view. Better times and dreams come true. Eyes wide open, tell me where's the dawn. Restless for the sun. The view from here don't darken, yet shouts so clear in my mind. Dawn breaking through darkness. Dreams come true, better times. So hold me close and speak to me of all the dreams we've yet to see. Can't wait to see you when the morning comes. Restless for the sun. Close and speak to me of all the dreams we've yet to see. Can't wait to see you when the morning comes. Restless for the sun. Restless for the sun.
And good morning, good evening, whatever the case may be. This is Mike, and this is Mike Dell's World, number 164, as I said. And hey, I want to talk about my sponsor real quick before we get into the meat of the podcast here. You've heard me talk about online meetings using GoToMeeting. Well, that's the best way to increase productivity and reduce wasted time traveling. Well, exciting news. Now there's a solution for anyone who does formal training. Solution, GoToMeeting has just introduced GoToTraining, designed to move your training sessions online easily and affordably. With GoToTraining, you can share in any application in real time, hold interactive training sessions for up to 200 people right from your desk, provide on-demand training by making recorded GoToTraining video sessions available online. GoToTraining is great for training employees, customers located anywhere, on-site or around the world. Check out the new GoToTraining free for 30 days. Visit gototraining.com today And of course, if you want a free 30-day trial of GoToMeeting, you go to gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts. That's gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts. And of course, for the new training product, it's gototraining.com. And both of which have free 30-day trials. Go check them out. So let me close that. And let's see, what was that? Oh, hey. Of course, the see, I'm in the Citrix mode, so everything's go. Anyway, the Summer of Podcast 2 contest is going on, and sometime during this podcast, you're going to get a super secret code word to go put in over at podcastmadness.com. So stay tuned for that. Listen for that. And let's see. Hey, got all 3 vehicles up and running. That's my big news for the week. And tomorrow I get to go buy 4 more tires for our camper trailer. But I think we're about done with the automotive expenses for the year, or at least for this month. Let's hope so. I spent way too much money fixing cars and trucks and whatever. Let's see. Yeah, but yeah, like I say, it's been kind of a crazy week as usual. I did want to, well, instead of talking about that, I got something I'm going to talk about here after the next song. But I did find a group that, well, let's put it this way: it's 50% something I would totally play, and 50% something I would probably never play and don't really understand, but together somehow they work. So I'll let one of the guys, well, you can't, he doesn't really introduce, he introduces who he is, but not who the group is. But I'll tell you who the group is and a little bit about them after I play this song.
You are now listening to the sounds of Gangsta Grass featuring T.O.N.Easy, lightning on the strings, thunder on the mic. My thing, hat low, rim over my nose, Tim's cover my toes, New York swagger, braggadocious, turn my nose up, sprinkle my lyrics over the track and burn the flow up. All my mommies show up, they scuffing their knees, amazed by the kid, how I do it with ease. No pen, paper, I know it's hard to believe, it's the talent God gave me, son, I'm thankful to heed. You could knock this in your iPod or bang it in your whip, either way you gon' scream out, tone is the shit. I'm after the gold, then the platinum, yeah. That's what it is, baby, that's what's happening, yeah. It's about that time, son, I'm long overdue. Mommies, get your hips ready, y'all know what to do. Hip-hop was never dead, it just needed some light. So put your hands up high.
Down by the river, baby, put your hands up high. Down in the valley, baby, put your hands up high. Down on the corner, baby, put your hands up high. Just put your hands up high.
Mr. Wrench hit me with a classic. I had to do what I do and spit acid. I can't help it, killing tracks is a habit. It's so amazing, it's like magic. New York knows, the Midwest knows, the dirty South knows, and West Coast knows. I'm the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't believe these other rappers, they don't love you. They just want their little money and they gone. They don't really care about making singing real songs. But I got you, my peoples, your boy Tone is so focused. I can see through planets, I can swim the Atlantic, I can stop a tornado, I can bring back the dead, move mountains, I can turn rocks to bread, turn thugs to angels, turn sluts to nuns. In case you haven't figured it out, Tone's the one.
Down by the river, baby, put your hands up high. Down in the valley, baby, put your hands up high. Down on the corner, baby, put your hands up high. Just put your hands up high. Down by the river, baby, put your hands up high. Down in the valley, baby, put your hands up high. Down on the corner, baby, put your hands up high. Just put your hands up high. Down by the river, baby, put your hands up high. Down in the valley, baby, put your hands up high. Down on the corner, baby, put your hands up high. Just put your hands up high.
And possibly the two most misunderstood genres of music combined there, bluegrass and gangsta rap. I don't know. Don't think I could listen to that too many times, but anyway, it's there it is. It's a group called Gangsta Grass. That's Gangsta Grass. And believe it or not, they're nominated for an Emmy Award. Yeah, you heard that right. The Emmy the Emmy Award. And they're nominated for their original main title theme music for the series Justified, which I'm not really sure what network they're on. What that is. It's one of the cable networks, but it's a cable show called Justified, and like I said, I'm not sure what network that's on, but and I've never seen it or heard them play before. But anyway, Ariel from Ariel Publicity sent that over and thought that would fit on my show. Well, sort of. So, anyway, hey, got one more thing for you here. Stand by.
Hello, loyal listeners of Mike Dell's World. This is Paul Muller here from the Summer of Podcast Contest. Your super secret code word is Michigan. That's MICHIGAN. Head right on over to podcastmadness.com and enter it in for your chance to win and to see all the details. Thanks so much to Mike Dell's World for being a part of the contest this year. We're looking forward to seeing you and all your friends over the Summer of Podcast Contest.
And thanks, Paul, for doing that little promo bit. So you got that? Michigan is your super secret keyword. Get over to podcastmadness.com and put that in, and you'll have a chance to win all kinds of cool prizes throughout the summer and fall of this year. And some of the other shows that are giving away codes for this week, so go check them out if you want more codes for more chances to win more prizes. And that's the CS TechCast, the Moxie Mo Show, Cleveland Sports Radio, the Force Field, Geek of the North, which will be out tomorrow, What Now, Tech Netcast, the Jesus Geek, Cross Driven Radio, and of course Mike Dell's World. And next week, look for Flash Past, Day in Tech History, that's Jeffrey Powers over at Geekazine, the iPad Show, Waves of Tech, the Spirit Blade Underground Pod, Bitnapping TV, the School of Podcasting's Morning Update, UC Radio, that's Mike UC over at, was at Mevio, I don't know if he still is or not, but anyway, UC Radio, and let's see, Photo Walkthrough. Anyway, I'll have all those posted in the show notes over at mikedell.com. And, you can go pick yourself up some more codes and possibly discover other cool podcasts that you might like listening to. So anyway, all right, a little bit different note here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show The Deadliest Catch. And, most people would be there. It's on the Discovery Channel, I think. Yeah, Discovery Channel. I had to think about that for a second because history and Discovery kind of mix up in my mind there. But anyway, The Deadliest Catch, there was a captain. Well, let me start from the beginning in case you don't know what that is. Deadliest Catch is about crab fishing in the Bering Sea up in Alaska. And they put camera crews on 2 or 3 ships, maybe 4 or 5, I don't know, a bunch of different ships, and they film these guys as they're doing their thing. And of course, the captains of the crab boats are very popular in the show. Well, there was a particular captain of the boat called the Cornelia Marie. And anyway, he passed away during the filming of this current season. I guess it's probably been 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago that he actually died. But his last show where he actually, died during the filming of that show aired last week on the Discovery Channel. And the narrator and also the star of Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe, wrote a tribute piece on his website, MikeRoweWorks.com. And here just this week, in honor of them actually showing the episode where Captain Phil Harris passed away, he actually read it and put it out as an MP3. So I'm going to go ahead and play that tribute to Captain Phil Harris of the Cornelia Marie, who passed away, I guess it was 4 or 5 months ago. I should really go look that up so I could know exactly when that was. But anyway, he was quite the character. And if you ever see the show or see it in reruns, Captain Phil Harris was definitely a character. And that's a good thing in most cases.
4 years ago, I was in Seattle, preparing to film the first round of After the Catch. For those of you unfamiliar with the program, After the Catch is a talk show in a bar, where the captains and crew from Deadliest Catch gather to chat about this and that. I impersonate the moderator and do my best to keep things on the rails. Think Charlie Rose with cigarettes and whiskey. Anyway, on that first day of shooting, I arrived a few hours before filming began and observed the kind of chaos that one can only find around a TV production. We were going to be shooting in a style called live to tape, which means we'd record the show in real time, as though it were a live production, but edit it for content later. Can you imagine filming the captains with no time delay? Consequently, there were at least 7 cameras positioned around the big table and all kinds of lights hanging from the ceiling and poking through the windows. The plan was to record 2 shows in one afternoon. Producers and directors and cameramen and network executives and all manner of production personnel were milling about, and there was a real sense that no one actually knew what the hell was going on, which was indeed the case. As the captains took their places around the table, it was clear that they were not entirely sure what to expect either. I won't say they were nervous, but I can assure you that ambiguity does not sit well with men who are accustomed to being in charge. This kind of filming is the opposite of what goes on aboard their boats, and they had lots of questions about how the day would unfold. Unfortunately, I had no answers for them. Unlike the captains, I actually prefer confusion and ambiguity, especially in television, and I told them as much. I also suggested that, being in a bar, there were any number of remedies nearby capable of taking the edge off, a completely unnecessary piece of advice given my audience and setting. The only one who appeared to be completely at ease was Phil. Phil arrived at the last minute, and did so in style, cruising into the parking lot aboard a brand-new motorcycle, a Harley-Davidson Titan, as I recall. He walked into the bar with a big smile, said hello to the gang, and then glanced at me with an amused expression. We then had the following exchange. "Hey, Phil, how's it going?" I said. "Mike, I got nothing to say to you until you ride my bike." "I beg your pardon?" I said, Mike, you and I have nothing to talk about until you ride my bike. Got it? With that, Phil walked me out to his bike, tossed me his keys, crossed his arms, and waited for me to ride off. And so I did. I mean, really, I didn't have much of a choice. That was Phil Harris. He had a kind of spontaneous generosity, the kind that sprung from a genuine enthusiasm for whatever it was he chose to focus on. It could be anything. Sometimes he focused on catching crab. Sometimes he focused on his boys, Josh and Jake. In that particular moment, Phil was focused on the joy of riding his new motorcycle, and he wanted to share that joy with me. He insisted upon it. That's an unusual quality, I think, and a very good one. Not long after Phil got sick, I ran into him in Las Vegas. This was a couple years ago. I was giving a speech at the Con Expo convention, and he was doing a series of appearances for a pulley company. They'd set up a large booth in the exhibit area, and we'd agreed to meet for a beer at the end of the day. Well, I got finished early and wandered over to watch Phil do his thing. Well, Phil doing his thing meant he was talking to fans, and there were many of them. They'd lined up to wait for an autograph and a handshake from the now famous skipper, and the line was growing at an alarming rate. I stood behind a nearby display, unobserved, and watched Phil carefully as he interacted with his fans. Some people are better at this sort of thing than others, and Phil was very good indeed. He handled his notoriety in a completely genuine way, as though he'd always had it. He focused on every single person who waited to meet him, and found something original to say at every turn. He answered questions that were way too personal and stayed well beyond his required time, waiting until the last person in line shook his hand, an older guy wearing an army cap, who told Phil how pleased he was for the chance to meet a genuine American hero. Phil blushed, signed the guy's hat, and thanked him for waiting to say hello. I have many memories of Phil. I wish I had more. One of my favorites was a night in L.A. I think it was L.A. It could have been New York. Forgive me, they all blend together now. But regardless, it was at a Discovery-sponsored event that included a bunch of their talent. Most of the captains were there, along with me, the Mythbusters, Bear Grylls, the usual suspects. Also in attendance was David Zaslav. David Zaslav is the CEO of Discovery Communications. He's the big cheese, the head honcho, the top dog. David's responsible for overseeing a dozen separate channels and runs the leading provider of nonfiction entertainment on the face of the earth. He's become legendary, not only for what he's accomplished in business, but also for having an attention span that rivals the life of a fruit fly. It's true, David calls meetings that are sometimes adjourned a minute after they begin. He's very smart, not terribly patient with those who can't keep up. He does not sit still. Ever. He's always moving, and he's constantly surrounded by people who are charged with keeping away those who might suck up his valuable time with mindless chatter. Anyway, I was there the night David Zaslav met Phil Harris. David came hurtling through the room at the speed of sound, shaking hands and spreading sunshine. His retinue followed like a tail of a comet, and he was on his way back out the door when Phil walked in. I can swear that what I'm about to tell you is the honest truth. David and Phil shook hands and began to talk. 30 seconds later, they were still talking. A minute after that, still talking. People began to stare. 5 minutes later, they were still at it. Phil was mostly listening, but David was talking intensely, and people began to speculate about what a crab boat captain and a media mogul could possibly have in common. Then, to the amazement of those who witnessed it, David and Phil wandered off to a quiet corner far away from everyone else. There, they sat and continued to talk. Now, this was simply unprecedented. Every few minutes, somebody would slide over to extract David from this most unusual confab, but every time David would wave them away. When Phil pulled out his cigarettes and threatened to light up indoors, David led him outside, where they remained for over an hour, standing there, talking. Just the two of them. Eventually, David and Phil said their goodbyes, and Phil joined me at the bar. "Hey," he said, "you know who that was?" "Tell me," I said. Phil threw back a poorly made duck fart and replied, "That was the president of the whole damn channel." I smiled. "Well, actually, Phil, he's the CEO of the whole damn network." "Is that right?" said Phil. "Well, whatever. He seems like a nice guy. Kind of chatty, but his heart's in the right place." Extraordinary. In the history of time, no one has ever described David Zaslav as chatty. I guess it all comes down to this. The world is desperate for authenticity, in business and in life, in work and play. We crave it, I think, because it's in such short supply. Consequently, when we see it, we'll wait for it. We'll watch it on TV. We'll stand in line for a chance just to be near it. Fans, fishermen, CEOs, we know authenticity when we see it, even if we're not looking for it. And Phil Harris had it in spades. I didn't know Phil well enough to properly eulogize him. However, I knew him well enough to like him, and more than enough to miss him. He was the real deal. Flawed, human, decent, kind, and totally authentic. And one hell of a captain.
And that was Mike Rowe, the narrator of Deadliest Catch and the star of Dirty Jobs. And anyway, just thought that was interesting. And I don't know when they released that, but I caught a Twitter last night from Micro Works and went ahead and downloaded that. So anyway, see what's been going on in my world. Same old stuff, trying to keep busy. I did start a series of podcasts over at, let's see, it'd be SYWTP. That's SYWTP.com. It stands for So You Want to Podcast. And it's a basic instructions on how to get started in podcasting. I just got the intro one out last week, and plan on doing the another one here before the end of the weekend, and I'm going to do it weekly, and it's going to be a podcast about podcasting. That'll keep me from doing all my navel-gazing here on this podcast, and I'm going to pick a subject, starting out probably the first 8 episodes are going to be the, basics you should do before you start, if you haven't already started podcasting. So anyway, go check that out at SYW. Geez, that's a hard one to do. It's So You Want to Podcast.com with dashes in between all the words. That'll get you there too. But it's SYWTP.com. And one of the things I'm going to reiterate in there on this week's episode, which is all about setting up your website, is don't pick a domain name that's hard to pronounce or hard to remember. But it'll work for the SEO. I got both So You Want to Podcast.com with all the dashes in between the words, and I've also got the acronym SYWTP.com. So between the two of those and with a little practice, I should be able to say that without any problem whatsoever. You never know. So let's see. Well, hey, let's push this button and then push another button and maybe even push yet another button, but I'll be back.
You're listening to Mike on Mike Dell's World Podcast.
This podcast is part of the Blueberry Network. Find other fine podcasts at www.blueberry.com. That's Blueberry with no E's.
Yeah, and don't forget to take the E's out. Anyway, well, I'm going to call this a podcast, a little bit short, but really not a lot to say, except for join me over at Geek of the North tomorrow if you want another chance to win the Summer of Podcast 2 contest, or win a prize in the contest. There's some big prizes, there's some little prizes, and there's some in-between prizes, but there's lots of prizes, so the more entries you have, the more chances you have to win. And several people last year won 2 prizes, so the odds are pretty good. And again, the super secret code word for Mike Dell's World is Michigan. And like I said, tomorrow, listen to Geek of the North over at geekofthenorth.com for another chance to win. Of course, I'm going to say that Geek of the North may not be out till Saturday. Like I said, I got to go get some tires put on the camper tomorrow morning, depending on how long that takes. Depends on how much podcasting I'll get done tomorrow, but I'll try. Maybe I'll record Geek of the North here when I'm done getting this one buttoned up, since it's still somewhat early in my day. So, anyway, be good out there, and be sure to check out all the other podcasters over at Blueberry and over at podcastmadness.com, and for that matter, go over to techpodcast.com and check some of those out if you're into the techie geeky stuff. And we will catch you later, and you can catch me later.
That's all, folks.